Hey everybody, it's Yolanda here on the Rise with my girl Suzette. Hey Suzette,
Hey everybody.
good
I
to
love
see
that
you.
song, Yolanda. I love
I know it just makes you want to just like, you just like grooving the whole time it's coming in.
it. Nowhere to
Oh
go
my
but up.
gosh, nowhere to go but up. You know that's right, girl.
I
That's
love
it's
it.
exactly
I
how I
love it.
feel. And that's what we're
I
here to
do. I
talk
love it.
about today. But first, just want to remind you to go on social media on the Rise Talk on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and on the Rise Talk show on YouTube, and like and subscribe. Share the content with anybody that you know that can use some of the stuff that we have been talking about. I hope you've been enjoying this series on women and wealth. I mean, this I've been learning a lot, Suzette. What about you?
I have, and I'm excited for all the other guests that are coming on because I think it's going to be a really fun series. We are learning a lot. Yep.
Yes.
Getting our
Yes. I
heads
think and
all
that's what I
glued
love about this
together.
show. Yeah, yeah, we're learning together.
Yes. Learning together. Yeah.
Yes.
Great series. Really good. I'm excited.
You and me both. I'm totally excited. You know why else I'm excited? It's because today, y'all, I get to interview Suzette. See? So this is what I love about being one of the hosts is that sometimes we get to do
Mhm.
the host thing. Because all of us have something that we can share. And Suzette, you guys, she don't always tell all the stuff that she knows, but today we're gonna get into a little bit of that, right, Suzette?
Yes, I don't always spill the tea, right, about myself. So today you're gonna be letting me spill some more tea about myself, which is kind of funny.
Yes.
You be trying to
Uh,
get it all out. Tell it, Suzette, tell it all.
Girl, I'm just gonna make you
Tell
I'm just
Suzette.
gonna make you share your knowledge and use your talents to help us all. Cause a lot of the stuff that you are going to talk about today, I have not experienced myself. So I have been looking forward to this show because I get to hear about some of the things that you have been working on, which I am totally excited and proud of you and inspired by you about. So I cannot wait to get into this show today, y'all. We're going to talk about having a global business mindset, okay? And I have to admit, I have not always had a global business mindset. And our girl Suzette today is going to be sharing with us her experience on the global stage. So I'm totally excited to have this conversation with you today.
And I'm excited to share because I got bitten by the global bug. I guess maybe about 5, 10 years ago. I can't even remember, but it's been a while, and I just know that it's in my blood. I
Yes.
love to eat. Yes.
Okay, so since you already started talking about it, like how did you get into this whole global business space?
So that's a great question. It started with me doing a consulting project with a corporate company. They actually, I don't want to really call their names, but they actually put Homeland Security equipment in the airport. And because I had the opportunity to go to their different sites, I had the pleasure of going to different countries, meeting different leaders, and sort of understanding the different cultures in each of those countries.
Okay.
And it really became a fascinating thing to understand how culture works, in an organization, country laws, and you can't just come in and say, well, we need to do this. You have to understand each culture, the country laws, and all the dynamics. And I really found that fascinating. And just from a culture standpoint, Yolanda,
Uh-huh.
how people operate and how they approach things, how they deal with problems, it's really quite different in different countries as opposed to in the US.
Okay. Okay. And so how are you how did you learn how to navigate that space? Like what kind of things did you use to help yourself navigate that space? Was it just being in those rooms or were there people that kind of brought you along? Like how did you start learning how to navigate those spaces effectively?
So to navigate effectively, the first thing I learned to do was to listen. The art of listening and understanding where you are and the culture, and realizing that what we do in the US doesn't always apply in other countries. So
Hmm.
you need to listen, you need to observe, you need to understand protocol, and really realize that people like to have conversations when they're breaking bread. A
Yes.
lot of these conversations happened over dinner, over lunch. Leaders like to sit and break bread in other countries, and you really tend to infiltrate more when you are having a conversation and finding a commonality, be it family,
Yes.
you know what I mean,
Yes.
tradition. Everybody is different, but yet the same in terms of what common thread joins them. Some people family, some people tradition.
Yes.
And that's
So
kind of how my ebbs and flow.
yes, yes. So I'm gonna just have to. I just wanted to jump in right here and say, girl, you know that's my kind of business to do because breaking bread is some of my favorite things to do. Sitting down to have a meal is one of my favorite things to do with anybody, right? And I love exploring different cultures and the way that they eat because I love trying new food and stuff like that. And I will be honest with you, I even in my own experience here with other cultures and things like that, one of the best things you can do is have a meal with them and just sit down and talk to people and learn what they like, right? Like you said, you have to
Right.
also, it's a give and take. You have to learn also what kind of things that are I guess their concerns and what things they care about deeply, and that really makes you have a connection with someone from different cultures, and you find out there are a lot of things that they do or they value that can be similar to
Yes.
what you value.
Absolutely. And coming from an island where food is a big part of culture, we entertain, we have you come over, we show love through food in terms
Yes.
of our culture. It was just really for some people abnormal to do that during work time. But for a
Right.
lot of leaders, it's quite normal for them to want to sit and have a 2 hour lunch
Right.
to get to know you.
Yep.
I did that a lot in Brazil. I did that a lot in, other countries. So it's a way of doing business, but doing business in that type of setting is their culture.
Yeah, because we tend to want to just try to get the business and get it over with, and
Yes,
they're more
yes,
into building relationships, right?
yes,
They want to know
yes.
who they're doing business with, what you value, who are your connections, like who are you tied to? Like it's a whole like different space because they want to learn actually who you are and what you value. I actually love that about other cultures is that they really want to be friends and really know who they are, have a relationship with the people that they do business with.
Absolutely. And you can't just come in like supermarket foods and want to expect decisions and shifts. We have to give people an opportunity to meet you where you are, get to know you, understand you. And we need to respect sometimes that people have ways of doing business that not are always the same as ours.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That is so, so true. So I love that. I love that piece about the whole relationship building. And actually, I think we could benefit from that all in every space. I think COVID has really shown that people want relationships. They want to be able to connect with you in
Absolutely.
very authentic ways. I think that is some of the way in which I am seeing a lot of the shifts in doing business and how I engage with other businesses, right? I want to know who these people are that I'm doing business with. What do they value and the authenticity of the people that you're speaking with and talking to. And I think that's kind of a shift for our culture because we're very like fast paced, go, go, go. This kind of slow down and let's
Yes,
pay attention to what's really being shown and seen. We're seeing a lot of that going on in the marketplace right now where people are trying to connect on deeper levels, even companies trying to connect with their employees on deeper levels to figure out what really matters to them because we have this whole like great resignation going on. So people are trying to figure out what is happening,
yeah,
right? So
yeah. No, COVID did play into that. And I think for me, one of the biggest aha moments was when I saw somebody put their out of office in Germany and they said, I'll be gone from September 1st through the 30th. And I was like, uh, they're gone for a month on
yes.
vacation? And it blew my mind. I was
Yes.
like, but that's, culturally speaking, people when they take vacation in other parts of the globe,
Yes.
a week is not enough. They're like
Mm-mm.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're a month, 30 days. And so, those are things that I can appreciate with, being in that global platform of realizing people do take the time to smell the
Yes.
roses and, really have a good vacation and have good PTO as opposed to us who think a week, is enough. And to do 2 weeks, we got to do, a lot of planning. But that's the norm for, our global partners. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. Like we are one of the biggest first world countries that doesn't really have standard paid leave. And I think that's an amazing thing in this day and age, especially with all that we've been through over the past couple of years, that we still don't have those things in place is really a different mindset from a lot of the rest of the world, right? Just
Yeah.
having paid
Yeah.
leave, which is
And
why I
I'm so
think you
glad
see.
you talked about that. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's why you see some of the people that don't want to go back to work because they're just like,
Yeah.
they still have all
Yeah.
these other concerns, right?
Yeah, and I think for us being such a powerful country, not being able to give a woman, at least 6 months to a year's maternity leave
Yes.
when we're doing it in Canada and in other countries, I think
Yep.
is a bit, interesting. Where we're trying to get into this whole paid leave and, even for our dads, we
Yes.
just now started to give paternal leave to our men for at least 4 weeks or more, and for, people who have adopted a baby. So,
Yes.
we need to move the bar a lot better than where we are now, because our global partners are doing it. So
Yes.
I think that was the point you referenced.
Absolutely. I think that is so important. So that leads us into the next thing that I wanted to discuss with you. Why do you think it's good for us to think and expand our minds to be, outside of our own space in the US and look more at a global ways of partnering and looking into more global business and partnerships, or even just how people are doing things in other countries?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, let's just even look at the global climate, right?
Right.
What's going on with climate control? We have to come together. We
Yes.
have to partner around climate control. There needs to be, a collaboration, an understanding. We all should be putting forth the effort to really work to save our planet.
Yes.
Secondly, I think sustainability is key in this global environment. And I think the more that we can come together and look at opportunities in terms of how we start to grow food, how we look at different resources,
Yes.
innovation and technology, I think it's important that we start to really think of what does it mean for us in 2030 when we advance the needle in different areas.
Yes.
And in order for us to do that, we have to be of a global mindset.
Yes. Yes. There's so many ways that we can partner with other countries. And it's funny because I know we tend to think that we are the thought leaders in a lot of areas, but there are other countries that are doing some amazing things on a lot of different fronts. They have resources and people sources that are thinking ahead of the game in some areas that we probably haven't even tapped into, on this side of the ocean, I'll say. So
Yeah,
I know that
absolutely.
they're playing with. I know that there are other countries who are playing with different ways of growing food, food sustainability, different types of water resources and things like that. Things that a lot of times I don't know if we're always looking that far down the road here,
Yes.
especially with the mindset lately of, America only kind of thing. So,
Yeah, and even as thought leaders, what can we do to help with infrastructure when clean water is something that's needed in certain parts of the globe, right?
yes,
What can we do when, things like earthquakes happen, when we look at Haiti and places like that,
yes,
where the infrastructure cannot sustain, some of these, types of calamities. And yes, people want to come to the US and live in the US, but what could we do to show them sustainability within their own country as
Absolutely.
opposed to just putting them back on a plane and sending them back home? What can
Yes.
we do to help them to understand sustainability? So we owe it to ourselves as a global nation to come together and see where we can help one another to build better infrastructures, to put resources in there, green environments, to
Hmm.
really look at how we can grow our own, have our own, and truly have our own resources within countries and then trade and barter amongst each other in a way that can help us, to keep the climate going and, have better and healthier outcomes.
Yeah, Suzette, you said a mouthful right there, but one of the things I just wanted to key in on is that we need to help each other, or we need to help those countries figure things out, right? And work together so that it makes it so they can remain in their own spaces and areas and be more effective in those areas. I think that is so key to us because um I don't think people really all want to leave their countries and come here. I just think that there are certain issues and problems, like you said, with infrastructure. Some of it has to do with the governments and the way that they're running things, and they don't have a way to have the sustainability. And the crazy thing is, you talked about water in other places. We have places in the US that don't have clean water,
Right,
and
exactly.
filtration and things like that. So what if we all work together to figure these problems out, so that
Yeah,
not just in other countries but here in places that are having concerns with clean water, and we have droughts and we have shortages, and we too are starting to experience some of these crazy weather events, right? And so
yeah,
what if all of us and our scientists put their heads together and we started working on some of these, like really working together, and partnering with some of these countries and putting our heads together and looking at the trends and studying the way things are going, and using that information. And I know some of that does go on, but I kind of think we need to move that to a higher level. So a
yeah.
little more.
So I think economic development is a huge piece of it. We see that there are countries that are quite successful. If you look at Singapore,
Yes.
in terms of how they manage
Yes.
homelessness, housing, and really trying to keep a very rich economy going. What are they doing that's different? If you look at Dubai as another country in terms of how are they building infrastructures and sustainability that allows them not to have, sudden impacts of homelessness,
Right.
and so, some of it is a mindset, some of it is, how they're looking at that economic development and moving things forward to ensure that no one's left behind.
Amen.
So I feel like, we need to be thinking a lot more globally and tapping on the shoulders of our global partners in terms of what we can do to make a rich economy, ensure that we have a rich global economy.
And that means
Yeah,
for everyone. And I realize there will always be some that have more than others, but I think that the imbalance is so stark in our country with the way that the wealth is distributed, and we talk about this all the time. Um, and I think that there has to be, and I don't think there ever is going to be a great equalization, right? That it'll all like equal out. But I think we have to be more concerned, less with individual and more with community, right?
yeah,
And I know some people say,
absolutely.
oh, you guys are trying to turn socialist, but I don't think that's what it is. I think that we really need to understand that when everybody from bottom to top does well, the country does better for itself. It's a thing of, like you said, we can't sustain it the way it's so lopsided right now, that we have to find a way to help our own infrastructure. We have major infrastructure issues here that they're trying to pass bills to fix, our infrastructure. We've seen a lot of breakdowns in shipping and other things that have gone on right now because of
Yeah,
COVID and other things like that. That is affecting
yeah,
everyone globally. That's not just
right.
affecting
Right.
us. That's affecting everyone
Yeah,
globally.
yeah,
So,
and that's been one of the things that we've been noticing. We've got the climate issues. We now have supply chain. We're talking about certain foods we won't have access to pretty soon.
yes.
So yeah, we have to really start to be a lot more innovative in our approach And there are some countries that absolutely do not want to partake in this global,
Yes.
movement. And, there's a lot of, autonomous behavior in terms of the leaders. But at the same time, we can learn to level the playing field just by learning from one another a little bit
Yes.
more and understanding how to move that needle forward. We are one of the largest, powerhouse countries right now. And I feel like we need to be doing more in terms of how we can, really get this global initiatives moving.
Yes. And the great thing is that technology has been a great way for us to come together with some of this in this space where we didn't have access like that before, right? So like everybody doesn't have to come here to participate in these kind of things. We can do this stuff online. There's ways we can participate with each other, like I said, through technology and having these global conferences and doing all these wonderful things that brings these great minds together in spaces like we have never had access to before. And COVID actually moved that needle farther along too, because now all of us have to be tech savvy so that we can talk and we can
Right.
connect with one another. I know there are people that do not like it and they're not for it. And I believe like there's two sides of technology. There's that side that brings us together and makes us more effective. And like you said, pulls these great minds together. And then there's always that dark side of people who are always taking advantage of the technology to take advantage of other people, governments, and things like that. And I think there's a balance we have to strike. And there has to be more security around all of that, to make sure that that doesn't happen with all the ransomware and all that other stuff. But I do believe
Yeah.
that this is a great opportunity for all of us to collaborate. And we've never been able to do it to this level before. So,
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword, like you said, because we also have, created sort of a separate culture of hackers who are
hmm
looking to make money and, doing the whole ransomware thing. But
right.
I think at the same time, we can open up many doors from a technical
Yes.
standpoint, to create, a lot more emerging growth,
Yes.
and tap into, some areas where if we have the right technical infrastructure, that's another piece of the globe that could really expand exponentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So recently, you went to Dubai and you were moderating, and doing, among other things, which was exciting. So tell us a little bit about why you decided, because this is not your first trip to Dubai, and this is not your first time doing this. So I just wanted you to share with the audience some of your experiences there so they can understand what that looks like. I think for many of us who've not gone into those spaces, it's kind of hard to envision how we could impact in these areas. So just wanted you to just give a little share about what you did while you were in Dubai.
Sure. So my experience at this stage in my life is more so about learning and serving. And with this whole global mindset, I found that Leaders Without Borders, which is an organization that's doing a lot of great things with the Africa Dubai connection, that they have really created an atmosphere with Dubai and Africa in terms of projects that are really, really helping Africa and really
Awesome.
helping Dubai as well. Some of them are primarily in the real estate space, but there's
Okay.
a lot of other projects been, proven to be very, very successful, and also not just in Africa, but in other countries. I heard one of the heads of Leaders Without Borders, Ambassador Hillary Imo, said that Africa needs trade, not aid. And I
Amen.
think that's a great way to present it. And, watching how Dubai's government has really embraced, Africa, and how, they have just shown such an intense interest in projects in Africa, and how they would like to really enrich Africa, I think has
Awesome.
been really, really exciting to watch. Being a moderator and being a part of that has allowed me to learn so much about both Dubai and Africa. And I have to say, I do have a love for Dubai. The country within itself is very innovative. I love what they're doing right now with just creating all these different streams of wealth for not just people who live in Dubai, but for everyone globally.
Amen.
And they're welcoming people to come and partake. in the Dubai economy. So you can open up a business in Dubai. You just have to know all the guidelines and governance. But I think it's great, and especially for women. I'm really loving how they've expanded opportunities for women as well.
Awesome. That sounds really, really great. So, you talk about opportunities for women. So, what types of opportunities did you, see in those spaces for women to operate there? So, globally, I should say.
So there's quite a number of business owners in Dubai, from a mom who has her own clothing store to women who have asset management companies to women who, education, really women who are, making a mark. So it was great to kind of spend time with a lot of these different women. I actually did a panel of women and just to hear their perspective on starting businesses and sustaining businesses. And it's no different in terms of when you start a business as a business owner, some of the trials and tribulations, the ebbs
Right.
and flows, it happens everywhere globally, right?
Right.
You got to know that you got to invest the time. You know that being an entrepreneur is a 24-hour job. It is
Right.
not, and it is not for the meek and weary.
No,
You
it
got
is
to,
not. No, it is not.
and so it's the same globally, and just understanding the Dubai laws and really building something. But once you get your step and your footing, you can really do well, and I
Right.
think that Dubai just offers just an extraordinary opportunity from that standpoint.
Awesome. Awesome. It sounds like an amazing opportunity and also an amazing place to just visit. I've looked online and I've had friends. I'll admit in the past I didn't know much about Dubai, but it seems to be a place where a lot of people are starting to have international travel to. Um, and look into a lot of those different areas of business. I realized there's a lot of my friends and stuff that have now been traveling there and talking about the country and how beautiful it is and all the different global and business opportunities. And it seems to be a space where people hold these great conferences and things like that. So one of the ones you and I were talking about was this whole 2020 expo that they had there in
Yes,
Dubai. So you want to talk a
yes.
little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Dubai Expo 2020 really was supposed to start in 2020, but we all know that COVID happened. The great thing about the Dubai Expo in 2020 is that it showcases 192
Wow.
countries that are featuring some of the projects that they're working on, a little bit of their culture. We're also seeing, lots of innovation and technology projects, things that are going on across the globe that are new, creative. Um, and it's just, businesses just being able to market themselves, right?
Yes.
And once again, it's a platform for global opportunity and doing business and entrepreneurs coming together. So the Dubai Expo is a great way for businesses to really kind of, from an economic standpoint, do well. And again, it's global, so it's a really exciting time for Dubai right now. I know it's going to probably go till March of 2021. So, you've got like at least 6 or more months to go check it out. And I've done it and it's great.
Awesome. Awesome. So, um, in that, where do you see some of the future of like future projects since you've been a part, you've been able to go and look at that. What types of future minded projects have you seen having gone to the Dubai Expo?
So I think that there's going to be a lot of work in how do we continue to uh, look at food and resources and how we build and sustain in that
Okay.
area. I watched some of that. So I think it's important for us to really think about ways in which we can grow food, continue
Okay.
to have that as a key criteria. Um, Innovation and technology, how we are looking at science and building off of that.
Nice.
Um, I'm excited for 2030. I think you're going to see a lot of amazing things.
Okay.
Um, and just I think in general, just how we will be looking at real estate and what the market is going to be like for
Mm,
real estate in different countries. And for those who have the opportunity to purchase real estate in other countries, it's going to be really cool. I think Africa, with its resources, in terms of being able to participate in any project in Africa. I think hands down, with good infrastructure and good movement, you can really do well if you're invested in a project in Africa.
Okay. I think all of this is really great news, especially because we're seeing now. So we all know that COVID affected women quite differently, right, than it did with men, and a lot of women had to step back from whatever they were doing. Not just a step back, but I mean, they started thinking differently about how what they do and what their purpose is, and how they want to really impact not only their families but the world. And so I think all of what you're saying is quite exciting for me, because I was one of those women it affected. So I was like, I really did. I had this whole shift in the way I thought about how I wanted to make an impact, and how I wanted, where I wanted to go in the next 5 years. And I think that quarantine was a chance for me to step back and really think about that. I am really blessed in a sense that, I have a husband and a partner, and, I planned for some of this. I didn't plan for COVID, but I planned for some of the shift in my own mindset. It was something I always had focused on. And I think that right now for women, there's a lot of women, there are a lot of women who are creating their own businesses, who are stepping out, who are, starting those side businesses to transition, right? They're looking at transitioning into this space of entrepreneurship. So I love that you talked about that, because entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. Like, I can tell you, being like really working on my company now, it has been, and you all will hear more about that in the near future. Some new coaching programs and things like that coming. But it has been an interesting season. And so you have really broadened my horizon on thinking, oh, wow, like not now, but after I get myself a little more settled, what are some opportunities that I may want to step into in a global space? And so some of that mindset, so help me out with that. What kinds of things can we look into or be thinking about? Whatever product you have, whatever kind of, for me, it's a service, right? I want to serve people in the area of transformation and transition. And so what are some of those ways we can be thinking right now for future? You said 2030 is going to be exciting. How can we get ready for that, Suzette? Like, what kinds of things should, like, really, it's a mindset shift, right? So
Yeah.
what kinds of things should we be thinking about as we're walking down, because that's what, 9 years from now, a little less than that. How can we be setting ourselves up to capitalize on those opportunities in the next 19 years?
So that's a big question. So
I know,
I'll
I'm not
simplify
saying you're going to tell me everything, but
I'll
just like, let's
simplify
talk
it
about the
in terms of,
mindset shift as a leadership coach.
yes,
Let's talk about the mindset shift.
yeah. I think that when we think about a question like that, and we look at how one would approach that global mindset. If one were writing a book, why have it in just English? Why
Right,
have it in different languages?
right,
So it's really opening the door to embrace the fact that you are creating products that will be globally available.
right.
So it's inclusive, it's globally available, um, and looking at products and services that you can offer in a global environment,
Okay.
right? Recently, was talking to a woman from India. She makes some amazing jewelry, some gems that she works on, and she's like, I have people in the U.S. that I sell the gems to. I
Right.
have people, in Africa, Asia, all these different countries that I'm selling the gems to. And then she's now getting into facial serums and things like that.
Awesome.
So it's when you kind of open up the doors to saying, my product is something that I want to offer, not just within the region in which I live, but I want to extend it to other parts of the globe, and really just looking at what that supply and demand would be. So I go back to the whole book theory. I'm creating a leadership guide, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna want to do it in other languages. If I have that global mindset and I
Awesome.
want to tap the shoulders of global leaders, I need to do it. And someone, that mentioned that to me, somebody, who's like a mentor to me, when they said that to me, I said, you know what? Shame on me that wasn't the first thing that came to mind.
Mm. Mm. See, that's the thing. It takes, sometimes we can get so caught up in our own spaces. We don't see some of the opportunity. I know it was a loaded question, but I knew you could give that, like, that bite-sized answer, right? That everybody needs. It's just as simple as thinking of how can I write a leadership guide and make it available in different languages. And I love the way you said that. Some people have ebooks that they've written. Make them available in another language. There are other women, there are other people in other countries that can use what you have. And I think I admit I am guilty of the same thing at times. I don't think on that level. And I think some of it is we have to get past our own the way we see ourselves and the way we see our businesses. And it does take somebody that is a little bit ahead of us to say, well, why didn't you just do that in this way, right? And so then it sets us down a different path. Like, oh my goodness, that's something I already have in my hand. Why wasn't I doing that, right? So
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
And a little bit of research online too. So
Yeah.
some of that.
Do your research.
Yes, I was going to say, we have so much. This is what I was talking about earlier about technology that's available to us, right? We can go online. You can literally pull up all kinds of stuff on doing business globally. What are opportunities for women globally? And there are many more women doing business. Even when we started looking for stuff for the show, I realized how many more spaces there are with women who are actually doing these things globally. Like you talked about, just with even jewelry, whatever that is, is it portable? Can you make it available? Yeah. And a lot of that you can do right online with technology. Yeah. I know a person who is a business coach, and she supports people all over the world, not just in the US, in the UK, in other countries and Australia, all these different places. I mean, she might not sleep some nights because she's jumping from time zone to time zone. Right. But she supports people in all these other countries, and she has truly made herself known in other countries as a business leader. And so I think you're absolutely right. It just takes us that little shift in our brains to say, wait a minute, how can I use this in a different way? Who do I know that can help me use this somewhere else, right? Or how can I find out how to use it somewhere else?
Yeah.
So, using what we already have.
Absolutely.
So if you go online, everyone, there's all kinds of ways you can support, global women leaders, all these different things. But Suzette, there was a government office that you also said that small businesses can use to find other opportunities in other countries.
Yeah. I think it's called Trade Key, if I'm not mistaken. But the good news with this is a service that kind of it's
Gold Key.
Gold Key service. Mm-hmm. Gold Key service. I'm sorry, Gold Key service, and they actually help you vet projects that are global that you might be interested in pursuing. So if there are any red flags with the business that you want to work with. And you pay a certain fee, and it's Homeland Security. So what better people to vet than those?
Right.
I mean, if you pay that fee, they can kind of just say, okay, these projects are reputable, these projects are not. Right. So you kind of have that opportunity to work with people that are reputable.
Awesome.
As with anything, right?
Yeah, you have to do your due diligence.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to do your due diligence.
So this Gold Key service is a great service, I think, for small businesses.
Yes, because then you don't have to do all the work yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And just think, you got all these different projects across the globe that have already somewhat been vetted for you. You can move forward and just, begin the process.
Yes, that is so awesome. I think sometimes the hardest part about doing things is trying to get started. I'll be honest with you. Just that overwhelming feeling like I have no idea what I'm doing. Where should I go and look up stuff?
Right, exactly. And so there you go,
Yes.
So I love these different opportunities and ways that you can find out, that people don't realize, hey, how do I start to do a global project? Well, you start with our State Department, Small Business Association. I'm sure if you call them, there's an area that can cover that. Yes.
Yes. Those are really great ideas, Suzette, and I love that. So I just really love that, because today I'm learning. I didn't even know about Gold Key service or any of that stuff. So this is great. Listen, I'm being honest. I'm gleaning from you too. This is wonderful. These are things that I think these are things that we have to use to open our horizons. I mean, listen, I'll tell the audience, I realize it is scary, first of all, stepping out into things that you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I realize that, but God has abundance for all of us. There is something, a purpose, a gift
Yeah.
that we all
Yeah.
have inside of us, and I think that some of us have a very global gift, and we're supposed to impact the world. And so when we let our fears and insecurities block us from doing that, there are some people that will not be served by the fact that you did not step out into your gift, into your calling. And so I am grateful for people like you who are going out there and blazing the pathway for the rest of us, who are baby stepping it. And you guys are already stepped out on those, in those spaces and are able to share these resources and tell us about these wonderful things. And I know when we were talking about the Expo 2020 in Dubai, one of the things you told me is that they do it every 5 years. Right. And it lasts for like 6 months. I was like, now that's an expo. That thing lasts for 6 months.
Yeah, it's different countries that have done it. I think prior to Dubai, it might have been Italy. So there's these world expos happen in different countries. Dubai just happened to be for this year, for 2020 actually, but it's happening in 2021.
Right.
So who knows where it'll be in the next couple of years. But yeah.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm grateful for that, because in 5 years I may be able to go and see it wherever it is next, right? So who knows, I may get an opportunity to go see it before this one shuts down. I don't know, but I'm gonna speak that into existence. Okay,
come on now, come on. I'm always ready to get on a plane, Yolanda. So. I got the global bug. I know people be like, girl, how you doing up hours? But it truly is. I without a doubt, I am that person that loves to do global work.
Yes.
And I definitely I'm just called to it. So
amen. And that's what I said. It's great to know somebody who's doing it, because through you, or if I decide to go somewhere, I know that I have a resource, right, for somebody that can kind of give me pointers or, lead the way for me. And I think that is the part that's most scary when you haven't been in that space. It's just like, oh my gosh, like how you talk about how you figured out cultures and you were exposed to all this stuff. That's scary for a lot of people. A lot of people have not been out of their own neighborhoods, their own state. You're talking about going out of a whole country and talking to people that you don't even know, right? For some people, that is absolutely debilitating. They're like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that.
I wish I had done it sooner, because I would have loved to have, gone to school in another country. I love Italy. I'm trying to learn Italian. So I just wish that I, had gotten a chance to do it when I was, younger, to experience a little bit of the educational aspect, the arts and all of that. But, there's still time. So
absolutely. Listen, they say every time you above ground, you still got a chance to go do. Look, you woke up today. You still here. It's not over. Right?
Yes.
Age is not nothing but a number. Long as you can walk and talk and do what you need to do, you can always go explore, right? I always tell everybody, Moses was climbing mountains till he was 120. That means we're not supposed to retire. We're just supposed to go into something else. Moses didn't retire. He went from being a sheep herder to being the leader of a great nation, right? So he did that in his later years, girl. We still got a lot of life to go.
Yeah, that's a word. That's a word.
Yes, so I love it. Well, thank you so much, Suzette, for sharing all of that. If you had to have a parting, just a parting word for everybody about this whole global business mindset, what would you want to leave us with? What is it something that you could leave us with, just to plant a seed and think about stepping into that space?
Yeah. I think, first and foremost, if you have something purposeful in life that you truly believe in and it's going to have an impact, then that's the first step in what it is you want to offer the world. I think that we are not meant to be small players when God has given us a big vision and a big purpose. I understand for some people the global, you know, establishment is not for them.
Right.
But I think overall, when you have a large purpose in life, don't narrow it down to just one space. Look at where you can feed many souls and many hearts. And that's really the globe, what you can do to help others across the globe is really just making the world a better place. So that's
Amen.
my philosophy, is, whose hearts and minds I can touch globally, makes me feel better. And, I can get back on a plane and come back home and feel pretty good about myself. Yeah.
Amen. I love it. I love it. That's all about that servant heart you have. I love it.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
think
you.
when you are serving others, God always blesses that because you're
Amen.
giving out of the gifts that He has given you.
Yeah.
And that does not mean you all, just because you have a servant heart doesn't mean you shouldn't get paid. I'm not saying that. I'm saying because God has given us gifts, right?
Yes. No, but
To
that's
get
real.
He's
And
given
that's
us our
true.
gifts
Yeah.
not only to share with the world but also to sustain us, right? And so
Yeah.
he is always looking for us to use what we have. And I always believe that when you share and serve the world, God always blesses you, and it doesn't always mean it's money. He blesses you in many other ways, but abundance is part of what He has promised us. and
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
and that is why there's in my world there is no scarcity. There's always abundance,
Yeah.
and I always know
Yeah.
that when I give out of my heart and when I serve people out of my heart, God is always taking care of us. We have never seen a lack in our lives. And so I just want to leave that with people too, is that this our world is abundant. There's abundance
Yeah.
everywhere. It's just that we have to find
There is.
our place, right? And our
Yeah.
niche and what it is that God has for us to do. And we just got to walk in it. So
Absolutely.
I agree
And
that.
for some of us, it's global.
Yes, and for some of us, it is global. I agree with you. And you know what? What a wonderful place to be, right? What a
Yes,
wonderful place to be.
absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. So
Well,
I just
thank you,
want you all,
Yolanda.
huh?
I said, thank you so much. This was
Oh,
fun. I love it.
I love this. This has been amazing. But I wanted to leave our audience because, we never leave our audience without resources, right? So our resources for our global business mindset are Suzette talked about it. Leaders Without Borders, y'all. They have a great program, as Suzette discussed. They are in other countries. You can go to their website. I went there myself. They have a lot of good information on there about doing business globally. The Expo 2020 in Dubai, she talked about, which we know is 2021, y'all, but they like the Olympics. They had to cancel it and come back to it. So, but Suzette has talked about that, how it's wonderful. And yeah, when she told me how much the tickets cost, I thought she was telling me a joke. I was like, are you kidding me? It's cheaper than going to Disney World for the day. So, I mean, it's not cheaper because you got to fly there, but it is cheaper when you get there. So, but Expo 2020 is going on until March of 2022. And the last resource we have for you is the Gold Key service, which is available from trade.org. And we do have the logo and stuff on there for you. And Suzette talked about how they vet programs for you to do go globally. I think there is a fee associated with it, but you can go check out their website and get all the information from there, and take a look at whether that is something that you are interested in or not. So those are great resources, and we need to post those resources on the website. I think we'll have, I mean,
Yeah.
on the Facebook page and Instagram page, so people can get them. So it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
This has been so fun, Suzette.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to being on the other side of the fence with you for our next show.
Yes.
Because
I
sometimes it's
know
better
life
on the
has been
other
so
side of
good.
the
Listen,
fence.
Miss International Traveler, you've been so busy. Life has been so crazy.
Yes, but I'm looking forward to being on the other end with you on the other side of the fence as we introduce some amazing guests in the next couple of weeks. I'm
I
excited.
am totally excited for the same thing. We have some really good stuff coming up in the future. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but we do have some stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some real estate, right? We're going to get
Mhm.
into that. What else,
Yes.
Suzette? We're going to talk about what else, Suzette?
I don't know if we should share too much. I think you already leaked a little bit of information out, but real estate, obviously, women in wealth, you got to learn about finance and budgeting.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
you can't go with learn how to do that because if you can't manage $100, you can't manage $1,000,000. So come on
Girl,
now,
what
you
the
know
Bible
that's
say? You have to do have to master a little before you can get to much, right?
exactly. So we got as much as we don't like it, we have to understand that is part of the process. Yes,
Yes, and we can't go into those spaces without managing what we already have, and
absolutely.
we know that we have to be responsible and accountable for
Yep.
everything that we do. So I'm excited about some of the shows we have
Yes.
coming up. But I
Yay.
just wanted to give them a little teaser, Suzette, so they know that we have some fun stuff coming up.
I know. I
Some other
know.
good stuff
All
coming
good
up,
stuff.
just to keep y'all watching and hook you in. It might look, if it's not for you, tell somebody else and let them tune in. Share the show, share the
Yeah.
information, share the resources. Because if it's not for you,
Yeah.
our model is to help somebody else, bring somebody else with you. So look, if it's not for you, give it
Yeah.
to somebody else, your girlfriend, your
Yeah.
cousin, your sister,
Yep.
your brother, like whoever need it.
Yep. Share, subscribe, and shout. Tell somebody, shout. Share, subscribe, and shout. There you
All
go.
right, Suzette, this has been wonderful. I can't wait for the rest of the season. It's going to be exciting. And we are just excited to be here. So you all know what we say to close out the show. Keep rising and bring somebody with you. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye. We love you.